I want to tell you about three more features that are accessible inside a multi-track session. One is the fader. Each clip has a fade in and a fade out control, so you can fade them in nicely. You can also crossfade adjacent clips simply by dragging one over the other. And you can have all the volume levels, all the gain for multiple clips be equal. I'll show you how to match volume levels and do those other two features inside this tutorial. To follow along, go get 1213 fading multi-track session inside the multi-track session subfolder. There it is. Okay, to set this up for our example purposes, it really isn't what you'd call a true multi-track session. I want to fade this guitar solo in. You remember this guy. I'm going to solo him. Bring him over here so you can hear him a little bit right there. I want to fade him in. Problem is, the fader is way the heck over here, and that just works at the beginning of the clip, or over here at the end of the clip. I want to fade in that part of the solo. Well, all is not lost. All you need to do is split the clip. Very easy to do. So I'm going to zoom in here by right-clicking on the time ruler. There you go. And I'm going to expand the view a bit by dragging this down so you see what we're working with. Take the current time indicator to just before it starts, like right about there. Get my razor tool up here and cut it right there. Nothing bad will happen. The audio will sound the same from one side to the next. It's not a problem. And we'll go get the eraser tool over here again. Click there to cut that. So now we've created a new clip, and you're going, where are the fade controls? So the fade controls will appear when you make the clip active. Go back and get the move tool, click on it, and now you can see the fade in and fade out. I'm going to drag this left fade in, and you can see that it has that cosine shape that I set inside preferences. If I pull it up or down, it changes the shape of the curve. When it's down like this, it fades in slowly and then suddenly fades up toward the end. Here it fades in quickly and then kind of tapers off when it gets to full volume. That's the cosine for you. If I hold down the control or the command key, that turns into a linear fade, or I can pull it up or down to make it a logarithmic fade. I prefer the cosine fade though. So I'll go like that, and we'll just kind of have it be this distance, that length, and see what that sounds like. Sounds cool. Sounds like he's coming in from the distance. If I want to make it last a little longer, I can just pull a little bit farther like that. Do the same thing at the end. We can fade him out. So I'll pull this over. Again, the same kind of cosine approach, and we'll fade him out like this. Now, I'm not saying this is exactly how you'd want to handle this guitar solo, but just showing you what you can do here. Yeah, you might want to keep the volume up toward the end, but nevertheless, that's how you can fade a clip, even if the part that you want to fade is within the clip. All you need to do is use the razor blade tool and cut it. I'm going to turn off the solo there and lift him up a little bit and press the backslash key to see the whole multi-track session again. I want to then crossfade these two clips, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see them a little bit better. And I'll solo this track. We've got some oohs and ahs here. Let's listen to this for a second. Amazing how Laura Lee can hold a note like that. With a crossfade, all you have to do is take two clips and drag one of them over the other. So I'll take the second clip and drag it over the other, and right away we get this little crossfade showing up. And you can see how long it is. It sort of snaps to the time markers, but I want it to be two phrases. See, you have two phrases there. I'm going to cover up two phrases, have them line up. Let's listen to what that sounds like. So there you go. Now, the second clip kind of led into this third phrase. I can slide it over so it doesn't. You can see a little line coming down there to tell you exactly where the fade ends. So this way, that when the fade ends, you won't hear that last phrase again. So that's a clean break there. You can also adjust the crossfades here using the same controls you saw before. This is a cosine fade up, fade out. I can pull that up or down, adjusting how those guys behave. So if I pull it up like that, you can see that the clip on top, that's fading out. That's the first clip. And it's fading out quickly. And then the second clip is fading up quickly. Over here, the first clip is fading out slowly, and the second clip is fading in slowly. So it always kind of matches in terms of the total volume level. I'll try this like that. So you can see how the second clip is fading in a little more gradually, a little more subtly. So that's how you do a crossfade. Pretty cool. I'll turn that one off. I'm going to mute these first two so we can work with these four down here, these horn clips. I'll press the backslash key so you can see all of them. You've heard these guys before. I'll play a brief snippet here. What I want to do is I want to have all the volume levels for these 4 clips, all the gain actually for these 4 clips, be the same. I'm going to match the volume levels. And the way you do that is you select all the clips, you click on one, controller command click on the other guys, and get all 4 of them selected. And then right click on any one of them. And that opens up this context menu. And right there is match clip volume. And you get this dialog box with a bunch of options here, some of which may make your head swim around. What is going on with ITUR, blah, blah, blah? What is that thing? That's the International Telecommunications Union. It's a standards union, and they have a union to determine what is loudness. And they have what they call this target volume for things, which is a sort of default loudness level to have things be equal. And it's minus 23 loudness units below full scale as opposed to decibels below full scale. So this is the standardization approach that Adobe has now put into the CS6 version of Audition. And almost everything now relates to that standard. If I go down to true peak amplitude, it also is minus 23 dBTP, which is true peak digital, also relating to the standard. So everything will be minus 23 for the default values here. Total RMS is root mean squared, another complex calculation. Peak amplitude is what's called normalizing. You say, I'm going to raise or lower everything so that nothing is louder than the peak amplitude that I set. And so if I raise the loudest part of the passage to some level, then the quietest passage goes up the same amount. That's called normalizing. And if I go down to true peak, then it uses that true peak digital value, which is very similar to normalizing, but it uses a different technology. If I scroll down a little bit farther, we're going to go to loudness. And loudness is an average loudness value, which is not a bad way to go. It's just an average feel for how all these clips are. And down below is what's called perceived loudness. And this compensates for how our ears are more sensitive to the mid-range of frequencies. But this won't work so well if you've got lots of different individual frequencies scattered through your piece, like a bass solo, then a tenor solo, or something like that. If you've got a sort of a generic piece where everything is sort of blended together, use perceived loudness. If you've got things with all kinds of solos that have different kinds of frequencies, then use regular loudness. At any rate, I'm going to go with the standard here, the new one, and I'm going to take the default minus 23 LUFS, loudest units below full scale, and you're going to notice that the clips on top are actually going to increase in volume, and the clips on the bottom are going to decrease so that they can match the volume across all 4 clips. So I click on OK, and it's now matching the clip volume across those 4 clips. And let's see what happened. I need to select one, so I need to click away to deselect them and then select one. And over here in the Properties panel, you can see that the clip went up a little bit here, so it's compensating for the fact that it was actually kind of quiet relative to these guys. If I click on the louder one here, you can see that it went down. So we have now matched the volume across these 4 clips, and this one went down a little bit farther. This one went up about the same as this one did. So now all 4 of them together are all equal in volume. And that, may or may not be good. You may want the tenor saxes to be louder, but in fact, we've now equalized them, I think, which can help us make a nice blend down the road, either for this multi-track session or whatever multi-track session you're working on. So that's how you fade clips, how you crossfade clips, and how you match volume levels inside a multi-track session.